So, you want a new Traxxas RC car? What's it going to be? If you're prepared to spend on the high end, is it going to be the Traxxas ERevo VXL 2.0 as it's known? Bit of a mouthful, but there we go. Or the Traxxas Unlimited Desert Racer, or abbreviated down to its short name, the Traxxas UDR. I'm going to compare and contrast a bit on the bench with these two cars. They are sort of, to my mind, around the same price point, although people may disagree or they may not on this. The new Traxxas ERevo, yours for a list price of $589. The Traxxas UDR, yours for $799. Ouch, you're thinking big difference there, Rich. You can pick one of these up for about $100 off of that. But most retailers are not allowed to advertise their products below that Traxxas minimum price. So if you look online, you'll see this at $799. But if you go into that hobby store, they might sell it you for $699, but they're not allowed to drop it below that price in a printed form. Oh, that makes sense. The same with this baby on it. So you'll see it for $589 online. You go in a hobby store, it's more likely to be $549 or around about that price point. Not quite as big a drop as the UDR when you go in store on this. This is because this is probably getting slightly higher demand, although I am quite lucky, I do appreciate that, and getting hold of both of these. A lot of people, even in my area, still tremendous problems getting hold of stock. Yeah, I walk in one model shop and they've got 3 of these sat on the side. Walk in another model shop, they've got 2 of these sat on the next one. And another store has got no stock of either and not a clue when they're going to get them. So, something to be aware of on these. But what I would say is don't pay full price for either of these new Traxxas RC cars. Okay, one thing you need to know about both of these cars, particularly if you're new to the hobby. I'm not trying to teach those of you who have got loads of RC cars how to suck eggs, but think if you're new to the hobby, you need to buy batteries and chargers to go with both of these cars. So if you're new to the hobby, you're going to need to budget for that on top of the price of these cars. If you've already got them, less of a problem on it. You'll notice the ones I've got here, I've got a Dean's connector on, not a Traxxas connector. That's because I don't tend to buy Traxxas batteries in general, as a lot of people don't, and I just prefer to fit the no wires adapters on them. However, whilst most batteries will fit in the new Traxxas ERevo, it's a different case completely with the Traxxas UDR, as I'll show you in just a minute when I get the camera off the tripod to have a look at these two cars. Speaking of getting the camera off the tripod, I'm going to do that right now, as a lot of what I'm talking about you're not going to be able to see without me getting in close up and personal. Okay, get the batteries out of the way for a second. Okay, I've put them back to back for a very good reason. Scanning down the car, the one thing you will notice about the ERevo is it is nearly as wide as it is long, and it is certainly much wider than the UDR is. And to give you some idea of the tyres, that's the UDR tyre versus the ERevo tyre. They're probably at least double the width on there. I've fitted this my ERevo does have the optional Proline Badlands on, by the way. I've not seen any need as yet to fit alternative tyres to the Traxxas UDR. Whilst I'm comparing and contrasting these cars, I don't want to sort of like a running report on both of these, how they're handling, what's braking, what's weak on them, what's strong on them as I'm going along. The UDR tyres are proving particularly excellent on loose surfaces. The ERevo tyres are rated because the existing ones were ballooning simply too much in the air with the stock tyres. That's the main reason why I upgraded the tyres on this. At some point I'll probably get some paddle tyres for the UDR, but worth noting, conventional paddle tyres can't necessarily be fit to this car because it's got a very unusual hex, but it's like a patterned hex in there. It's not your conventional six-sided hex in this wheel. No, sir, they can't make things easy for you to go and fit an alternative aftermarket tyre on this baby. Now that bodywork just flexing in there. If you look down here, wear and tear, I've already managed to bust the body on this thing. I've managed to refix it back on at the front. It's taken a bit of a beating, I would say. The whole of this end, the rear end of the thing, came loose. So I just want to touch on the weak points on the thing to start with before going on max strength. So the body, a little flimsy on the rear. You will also see the ERevo body on here. This has taken a bit of a beating coming down from a great height, so it's no surprise given the abuse that this car has actually been through. A little disappointed that I had to fit washers on because the two screws on that side simply pulled through the body, and the only solution other than buying a new body was to fit these on here. The body on the ERevo got the quick release system, like on the X-Max. It says, if you can open it the right way, where it tucks in, that little tongue at the front goes in there. The body on the Traxxas UDR cannot just be taken off like that. So today, folks, I'm not going to be showing you pretty much anything of the inside of the car other than the view from underneath, because this body is fastened on front and rear on here, so that's rigid, it's not going anywhere, which gives it a great deal of strength as well. But I guess on these trailing edges here, this is when it's caught, that's what's pulled away from there. Whereas your ERevo body is built for a little more bashing action, whereas this is more. Okay, whilst they're both four-wheel drive, the ERevo here is fully independent suspension all round. I'll compare and contrast the suspension on in just 1 second on it. Centre mounted motor and ESC on there, and you've got this unique inboard suspension on the ERevo front and rear. Now, whilst both four-wheel drive, they do these things at the steering end rather differently. This has got dual servos on it. Now, you'll notice that I've replaced both of those from the stock ones with these ones here. Yours for just under 18 bucks. Links in below the video, because the same servo is also fitted in the UDR. On both the UDR and the ERevo, the servos regularly fail. And when I say they fail, sometimes they failed on people's first drive out with either or both of these cars. So it's something to be aware of. You almost certainly need to upgrade the servos at some point. However, Traxxas absolutely brilliant. Every time they bust, they've got a servo to me within 2 days. So you can't beat that for customer service on there. So just something to be aware of. Okay, well, moving round to the front of the UDR, we've got independent suspension on the front, which gives a nice huge travel on there. Although I have noticed it does have a tendency on hard landings to bottom out on the front, and that front end dig in under there. The ERevo is more the basher out of the two, and with that suspension on there, has a less tendency to bottom out even after huge hits on there. It's also very easy to add springs and change the shockle on this to increase that. Of note, you can lower down the ride height of the ERevo without decreasing the suspension travel. So this is sitting on the lower ride height at the minute. Suspension travel still the same as on the original one. Okay, when it comes to the rear suspension on the UDR, we've got our trailing arm set up and a solid rear axle. It is also a locked rear axle on there, so the whole end is very much alive. A completely different driving experience on there. I'll talk more about that in a second. Just panning down, quick pan around on the inside of that. As I say, there is not on the UDR an awful lot you can see. You can see the ESC down there. You can't see any of the motor or any of that good stuff. Even when you turn it upside down, everything is very much hidden away. Now that is both good and bad. It's good in that stuff like loose gravel, dirt, water, etc. can't splash up and in there. The downside is if you're going to need to do any work on the car, you're going to need to remove the whole bodywork off, which can be a little bit more involving, to say the least, than simply unclipping the ERevo on there. So the ERevo, a little bit easier to work on to my mind from that aspect, but it didn't take, it's probably about 5 minutes work to take the body off. It's not too big a thing, but versus 10 seconds to take the body off on the ERevo. Now, I touched upon batteries, because the battery requirements for both of these cars you would think would be the same, both cars being 6S. The ERevo has got a battery compartment either side. One just slots in here, wires round to the rear on there, so these fluorine packs, or the Traxxas ones, will simply slide in there fairly easily. And then we come to the Traxxas UDR. You will note nothing on the side to put it in. Where's the battery tray? Well, on the UDR, the battery tray is underneath. Or at this point, I would also point out, whilst it doesn't have inboard suspension, just check out that dual shock setup on the UDR. The batteries go in here, he says. So the batteries, well, I love my Onyx 5400 milliamp packs, because that 50C a piece, the on the centre thing's a great kick. They will fit in there, but then the battery lead is sticking out to the side. There is not enough room to fit them in there. So I've been squeezing in some of my alternative fluorine packs in there. Again, there is still very little room for the lead on the end there. So much so that these, and also the thickness of two of these, the lid, this lid, I'm having to lean on with both hands to push it down to slide the thing across. To my mind, that's the one weak area on this car, is that you shouldn't be able to battle to fit different size batteries in there, particularly standard sort of 3S pack size particularly standard 3S batteries on here. I've actually ended up buying some 3,300 milliamp batteries from Florian, which are a bit thinner and will sit in there fairly easily on there. The one thing being with using adapter leads, because the batteries plug in down there, you think, what's the problem, Rich? This cover is the problem, because this slides over the top, and if you've got adapter leads, you will struggle with the height of them before those said adapter leads hit this cover, and you end up with them bent hard over inside. So it's not even that easy to use non-standard Traxxas batteries. Now, some people have said sand the battery compartment down. My thoughts on this are as follows. Would you take a sander to the inside of your car's petrol tank? I rest my case. So I mentioned the batteries and the UDR because to me that is a big issue and something well worth considering, because if you think you've already got 6S worth of batteries, 2 3S packs, you could well buy this car, then find that they don't fit and you end up going out to buy more batteries. So something to take into account. Measure your batteries before you go and get things, and check out the inside dimensions of that thing, and bear in mind where your lead exits on the battery pack can mean that even though your pack fits in, you still can't fit it in because the lead's hitting the side. So I hope that makes sense, but I thought it can be a big issue, so I thought that definitely well worth mentioning. Okay, when it comes to general wear and tear, I've noticed a little bit of oil coming out of here, but people tell me this is nothing to worry about. Some people have experienced oil leaking out of the shocks. It seems that they come overfilled, maybe from the factory. You'll notice the one modification that I've done on here is the aluminum trailing arms, because somebody said to me, the Steve O'Day said to me, the plastic ones will break, Rich. Sure enough, the plastic ones broke about the same time out, so I would recommend getting some of those. I put links to those on a video should anybody be interested. Likewise, link to those batteries I've just bought as well, because that is one area that will definitely save you some grief getting the right size batteries. Overall, the truck is wearing on the bottom pretty well, which is always a good sign to my mind. As I said, that bodywork is my only bit I'm not too impressed with that pulling away. I'm going to repair that, put a bit of plastic behind there or something like that. So how do the cars stand up when it comes to a good bashing? Well, this roll cage that you see there within the driver is also goes up underneath on there, and it forms a hard exoskeleton underneath the skin, just like a real roll cage does. On the ERevo, you've got the skeleton built into the shell. That's where the strength is on there, and they've also got the top rubbing strips on the shell, because this is going to spend far more time upside down on its back than this is. Now, one of the reasons for that is the driving characteristics. Under full throttle from a standing start, this thing will do a standing backflip, possibly even two if you're on the money and you've practiced a bit with it. Anytime you want to hit full throttle, even if you're going at sort of like half speed on the thing, that's going to want to wheelie up in the air, and it will spend a lot of time on its back if you're not careful. Great fun, very rewarding, but that tendency to wheelie can catch out the unwary on air. Accordingly, this rear wing, which is also the roll bar if you like, takes a bit of a battering. I've already cracked one of these mounts at the back here, and as you will see from the rear wing, it takes quite a bit of a beating on it, but overall it is proving pretty durable. Weak point on here is these metal arm, the two metal arms on here, and in particular the little plastic track rod end. That seems to be a problem that everybody is having. The rear drive shaft on this side, just on this one wheel, has pulled out like 4 or 5 times. No rhyme or reason to it. Very easy job to put it back in, but just something to be aware of, and nobody seems to have a clue as to why that particular wheel should be the one that's always happening to. So when it comes to handling, this under full throttle, even giving it 3/4 power, will have the wheels in the air. However, this under full throttle will rise up like a little bit, but the front wheels will stay bolted to the ground, and the thing being, because of that solid rear axle and with the lock diff on there, it's like a drag racer. That thing just goes. Acceleration on this, absolutely brutal, maybe more so in comparison to the ERevo, because you can lay down the power far faster, far harder off the line on the Traxxas UDR. Now, on looser surface, the Traxxas UDR probably will corner faster and harder than the ERevo will do, because you're able to steer around on the power with that axle. However, on blacktop, the ERevo is going to probably win hands down in terms of that handling on there, because of the independent suspension and the width of the car. Whereas this, because of that solid rear axle, on blacktop, the wheels will tend to get too much grip, too much lateral force, and the thing will tip over. Okay, now I'm going to do an outside handling test on these two cars. Hopefully we'll get somebody else to go and drive with me and to compare them side by side in the video. What I would say on this, the Traxxas UDR needs a lot of throttle when jumping. Virtually full throttle, even over small jumps, should be retained on in the air, because that nose will dip down very quickly, very easy to stuff the nose in. So always keep the throttle on in the air with that. However, this bad boy, the ERevo VXL, if you keep the throttle on in the air in this, you will have the you have an unexpected bonus in the fact that it will almost certainly backflip. In actual fact, you can nail it and you can get doubles or maybe even triple backflips by hitting that throttle and keeping it on in the air. So a little bit trickier to balance on air because you've got so much more mass and momentum in the wheels. So it can be very rewarding when you get it right, but you're going to need to practice a little bit in order to do those backflips. Front flip particularly hard. I'm still working on the front flip. This will just about jump over anything. It's a fan of sharp jumps, if you like, steep jumps, and now you can get some big air and get that high vertical distance with the thing. Whereas this is more suited to carrying its speed through and maybe getting a longer distance horizontally and not as much height, if that makes sense, on there, and the jumping characteristics on it. So this is far more, as its name suggests, desert racer, bombing over sand dunes, that kind of thing. This then may be more suited to being at its best at your local BMX park, etc. Both of them come with the standard Traxxas TQI 2.4 GHz radio, complete with TSN on both models, which you can dial in and out using the multifunction device on here. Okay, last but not least, quick suspension check on that. Just lifting that up until we start to see that rear wheel lift up as well. And the rear wheel's just starting to go up there now. So pretty huge travel on me. You wouldn't think the UDR would have as much suspension travel on it. However, you would be mistaken. And the rear travel on the UDR is going to be about the same as the front, or it gives it a very different handling characteristics with that solid rear axle compared to the independent rear suspension on the Traxxas ERevo. So the big question is, which one should you get? Should it be the bad boy ERevo VXL 2.0 or the Traxxas UDR Unlimited Desert Racer? Well, out of the two, this has a more conventional handling feel to it, a more buggy-like feel to it. All four wheels in general tend to be on the ground unless you're going over jumps in the air. As I said, under full throttle, it's going to keep the front wheels on the ground, which means you've got steering at all times, which I do like. I like being able to drive this thing flat out at its 50 mile an hour or thereabouts speed. Speaking of which, this will go up to about 70 miles an hour for the very brave. I would point out the very brave on that. It will feel like it's on a knife edge at that speed. Stock out the box though, this is going to be doing about 55 miles an hour, I would guess, and they say 50 miles an hour for this, but I've run it and it's 45 on there. Now I would point out that 60 miles an hour is 88 feet per second, so even at 50-55 miles an hour, both of these cars are going to make your local parking lot, your local bash spot feel very small, very rapidly indeed. And indeed, I would say that high-end speed, you're not going to be using that most of the time. A lot of this, you're going to be on and off that full throttle, braking, jumping, etc. You're not going to be running for 10 seconds at a time at it's 50-55 miles an hour speed, and not without running out of room. Fairly running about that question of which you should buy. As I said, there's not a huge price difference between the two. The one thing about it, I am loving the look of the UDR. That scale feel to it is great, and I wish I'd got it earlier. I sort of sat on the fence and ummed and ahed about it, and I really wish I'd gone and bought the thing earlier because it's handling very very impressive. That ability to stick the tail out, stick the thing on the throttle is suits my style of driving. The ERevo, absolutely great fun, blast to drive. I can't nail it as much on the throttle as I can with the UDR, yet it is much better in the air on doing those big backflips, things like that. So if you want a car that you can pull off crazy stunts, buy an ERevo VXL 2.0. If you want something that you can go for a good fast bash with and still get good air with the thing that handles very well indeed at speed, then go for the Traxxas UDR. Well, I try to cover as much as possible on there, and I can compare and contrast against the Traxxas UDR and the ERevo VXL 2.0. Any questions you might have, any features that I might have missed or skipped over that you want to know more info about, please ask away in the comment section below, and I'll do my very best to answer them. Hopefully get an outside test of these two bad boys up against each other soon, so if you don't want to miss that, please do subscribe, and if you like this video, then by all means share with friends. We hope you liked this video. If you did, please click on the circle image to subscribe, and if you hit subscribe, then don't forget to hit that little notifications bell next to it.